The broadcast has now started. We are live, and I will introduce you in 15 seconds. 10, 12, and countdown. And the page is refreshing. I'll close that down. Hello there, this is Andrea Wood-Schmitz, and I am so glad to have today a privilege. The broadcast has now started. We are live, and I will introduce you in 15 seconds. One moment. 10, 12, and
you're repeating on yourself.
Yeah, sorry, and that's how we start off at Hangout very well. Listen, this was all very unplanned, but what you're invited to is a discussion between two colleagues, Andrea Wood-Schmitz and my guest, Di Heuser, today. And Di has basically gone crazy. She's just gone totally nuts. She's put out a massive blowout sale. I don't know, how many products are you selling today, Di?
15.
15 products, so for just over the price of $1 per product, so $17, she's selling everything that you can get a hold of this month. And I can tell you just at least one of those products is worth more than $17 alone. It's that cash flow one, because I remember being in a really nasty pinch at one point or the other, and we had a conversation, and Di just sat down and got this product finished. And then I learned that you're coming more from the financial world anyway, and so it makes perfect sense that you would make that product. Anyway, back to the introduction. Di Heuser is a colleague of mine. I've invited you here to basically hear two colleagues talking about a strategy together today about building your industry status, increasing your, positioning your business to continue to barrel through very, very well, but also to give back to the community, to make it a win-win for everybody concerned. Now, Di is in the publishing industry, and that's basically the slant of most of the products that you're going to get, except the cash flow. But the cash flow, everybody needs to make sure that their cash is flowing, right? So the products that she's selling, we're not going to be pitching the product today, but I suggest that you do purchase it, because we're going to talk about things like JV partners, which are joint venture partners, which means simply that there's a collegial, beneficial act between the two people or the multiple people involved, which means if you happen to purchase from the link that's right below this video here, then I might get compensation for that. But the reason why you might want to get that link, even if you're not interested in publishing, and half of the books are very publishing oriented, but they're still good to read, is simply this: because what you have the opportunity here right now is you are witnessing a JV kind of a conversation. You are seeing the back end of how these things are set up. And what you can do if you purchase this product from Di, which I suggest you do, is you can continue to follow how are these things set up, and always be thinking, how can I transfer this principle over to my own business and to the products that I'm selling? So without any further ado, let's say hello to Di Heuser. Thank you so much for the very short-term notice of coming on to hang out with me today.
Well, you're very welcome. I had to go and get my makeup done because you insisted on us looking titivatingly divine on the camera. Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Yes, it was. I've been going through a process of change, as I try to do every single year, is reevaluate my business, see what have I achieved and what have I not achieved, and where would I like to go in the new year. Now, 2014 has been 1,000 times better than 2013. There's just no doubt about it. But there's still huge room for improvement, and there's so much that I still want to get done that I took a week off from Facebook and all of that to get my head clear and to reevaluate in which direction I wanted to take this whole self-publishing business of mine. So one of the end results is what you saw is the I Have Gone Crazy sale, which I'll explain to you in a bit more detail just now.
Okay. I think before you explain that, it's very important to note that this is a key strategy that any smart business person will do. Take yourself out of the business. Take yourself out of the crazies of the day. As you said, you were off of Facebook for a week. Sit down, look at that chunk of time behind you. At the end of the year, it's kind of, begets doing that at this time of year. Look back and see what you have accomplished, what has been very good and what you can emulate, but also what can you shave off, what has dragged you down, what can push you forward, and then not just do that, but then to look forward and see where you're going. So that's why I'm super excited about this. So many lessons that I anticipate we're going to learn from you and how you're implementing these with your business. So back to you.
Okay, well, you sent me a list of questions, so I don't know if you want me just to work through the questions that you've given me in that sequence, and then if you want to stop me, just yell, and I'll answer any questions you
Okay,
may
well,
have.
I'll start by asking the first question, and then we'll just see how that naturally goes. I
Okay.
think going through chronologically is going to be good, but you may just flow right into the next
Yeah.
question without me disturbing you. So my first question is basically describe your perfect prospect. Who do you help? Who's the person that you actually want to target with your business? How can you help them? Who are they?
Well, it's very simple. My target customer is somebody who wants to make a sustainable income by using their writing skills. Now, that's just the top level. Um, it can be anyone. There's no specific demographic in here, in that there's not a particular age group or a particular gender or a particular income bracket, but it's more of a psychographic, in that these people are writers. So, writers stem from 13-year-olds to 17-year-olds like my daughter to 80-year-olds. Um, Somebody that's got the bug in them, they want to write, they're probably very good writers, and they want to make a sustainable living from it. So those are the two key elements. One, that they love to write, and two, they want to create a sustainable income from it. So, but in order for them to create a sustainable income, they have to have several skills which most people don't have. A writer can write, but one of the things is, if they're going to write to create a sustainable income, they have to treat their writing like a business. So what I want to do is to be able to help them, give them the required skills. They need basic self-publishing tools and tips. We need to teach them how to do better writing. We need to help them get their own websites up and running, and e-commerce related sites. We need to show them how to grow their readers list, and I need to show them search engine optimization and social media marketing strategies. Now, that's all very overwhelming for a writer, and my goal is to make that process of making the switch from being an author to a business person who writes as painless as possible.
Okay, good. Yes. Yes, as painless as possible is good. And that's part of, and that's actually very good, because it's a part of, it gives us, for those people listening into our little conversation here in the background, it gives you an understanding of what those 17 products are. They're going to be helping you to do exactly what Di just put out there, namely to position yourself, to have the tools, to understand how to go forward and do some things in the publishing realm, and to use it tactfully in your business, or in the business of writing. Very good. What are some popular misconceptions that you notice in the industry, or that you provided solutions for?
Popular misconceptions. Number one, people think it's easy to make money. And I hate to tell you this, it is actually not easy. Too many people are out there promising instant riches by publishing a book, and it's like anything, it takes time, it takes commitment, and it takes good quality work. And the second thing is that a lot of people suggest that you do lots and lots of books. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're producing good quality books. Now, if you take Steve Scott, for instance, he's one of my heroes. He produces a book a month, but they are really good quality books. So he brings out 12 new books a year, and they're great books, and they sell, and they make him an absolute fortune. And if you've ever followed him, you'll know that he's making some serious money. So the two things that, for me, people need to be aware of is, it's not easy to make money, and quantity is not better than quality.
Right, right. Yes, that's true. You always want to have your quality very much forefront for mind, and along with that is understanding who you're writing for and what the purpose is. What's the purpose? I mean, we're both, actually, we shouldn't even be talking together. We're competition, right? So, but I mean, in the book industry, there's so many different I mean, so many different things that we can be involved with, and it's actually very beneficial. If you're listening to this Hangout and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how can you talk so intimately with your competition? I mean, seriously, people die as a person to follow. Why? She sees a problem and she implements solutions right away. For example, she's very quick to think on her feet. There's an extreme benefit from working with people who would be known as your competition to actually improve who you are and what you're doing. Iron sharpens iron. Maybe I don't know how to look at it much differently than that. And so, yeah, and I totally underscore your statement about, people are out there thinking it's really easy to turn a great buck, to really quickly earn money in any discipline, basically, and writing is no different than that, whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction. And so basically your observations, I've only worked with nonfiction publishing up to date, but it's still, I think that the misconceptions that you have there are across the board in whatever genre you're working with, as far as literature, as far as writing is concerned. So my final question about this side of the business, about the publishing side of the business, is basically the controversy. What what are the controversial topics out there that you have something valuable to share with us?
Well, some of the things that that irritate me, quite frankly, is that there's still this perception that self-publishing is for losers. If you're not a traditionally published writer, then actually you're not a great writer. And although we've got a case where we've got millions and millions of people releasing really junk books onto Amazon and other platforms, which is giving self-publishing a very bad name, self-publishing is still a very viable route to go. And I think it's going to take some time for all the, as they say, separate the wheat from the chaff, in terms of getting rid of all of those junky authors who are not actually committed to making a sustainable business, but just want to make money for the sake of money. And I think once that whole dust is settled, we will find that more and more people will actually consider self-publishing as a viable option. I mean, we've got some really big authors that are self-publishing, and they're particularly well known in the industry, like Hugh Howey and all of that, and we've got advocates out there. But you speak to the average person in the street, and they're instant. They look down at your nose and say, well, you can't really be an author because you're not published by a traditional author. And that is a very strong perception, not so much online but offline, when you go and talk to people. And that is a perception that I think will change. And then I think it's not so much a controversial topic as it's more an issue for me, in that people actually don't believe they're good enough to write a book. Yeah. And so what will happen is they've got this great idea, but everybody else around them is shouting them down. We all deal with the negative Nellies in our life, and it's a very hard process to get out of that and say, you know what, I'm actually going to write this book, and I really don't care what anyone else thinks. But that takes courage, and particularly if you are very close to your family, and you tend to find that family does that to you more often than your friends do. But it is a very big issue for people. They're too afraid to tell other people that they're writing a book for fear of being ridiculed. Yeah. And one of the reasons for having the group that I have is that they can come into an environment where everybody wants to write a book. So it's supportive and encouraging and builds them up. Yeah, so those are my two main issues.
Okay, and so here's a perfect opportunity to plug your group, which is on Facebook, and it's called?
It's Secrets to Publishing a Book.
Secrets to Publishing a Book. So go to Facebook and do a search for Secrets to Publishing a Book. You'll find the one book where Di is an admin. She has a few other people helping her out, but where Di is the admin, that's where you want to ask to join. Secrets to Publishing a Book on Facebook in the group. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't want to stop you. You were in a...
No, that's fine. There's just one thing I wanted to quickly come back to. When you spoke to me about who is it the person that I serve, if I had to define my perfect prospect, it would be somebody who is a self-disciplined individual that wants to take control of their own financial destiny using their writing talents. But the problems are, for most people, are threefold. One is cash flow. They often don't have enough money to get the job done. Two is the knowledge to get it done. And three comes back to that whole support issue. It's all very well having the money and the knowledge, but unless you've got that support group around you, building you up and helping you, and you touched on it with this whole competition thing. You know me, I've always been a very strong advocate for collaboration. So technically everybody in my group is in competition with each other because they're writers and they're targeting often the same market. But that whole power of synergy in a group, regardless of whether you're competition or not, makes the group and the individuals as a result much more powerful.
Yep.
So I just wanted to come back to that because I think that's a very powerful aspect of sharing knowledge. And I mean, like you and I, you know, we bounce ideas off each other and then we steal each other's ideas without shame, and it's lovely.
Isn't that wonderful, though? And because
it is, yeah.
we're both the richer for it in our understanding of business and how to work it, but we also know that we've got each other's back. We're very supportive of each other. And yeah, sure, you steal that problem from me, but what does it do? It gets me to think about how can I make another twist on that to make it continue to be myself, true to myself, and cutting edge, and still serving my demographic. Because even though we're competition, we both are serving different people with the same
Correct, yes.
type of thing in the background, which is bring us back to the very same reason. There are people listening to this conversation, and you're listening to two colleagues talking to each other. We're just basically sharing the nitty-gritty, and there's really nothing to be afraid of that. So look for that. Come to Industry Thought Leaders, my group on Facebook, where we actually talk about these things and where you can use that as a rubbing ground to practice your own leadership in whatever discipline it is. It doesn't have to be publishing. There's a lot of people who aren't involved and who's never published and don't even want to publish who are in that group, but they are thought leaders in their own industries. That's sorry, my plug. So we're gonna transition now. That's just basically, you know, who Di is, what does she do, who does she help, and how does she help. But now we're going to go into the actual reason why I said we got to get on a call and we have to talk, and that's your crazy blowout sale. Now, yes, we could talk about the great books. They're really just, even if you don't purchase them, go click on the button, have a look at what's in there. I tell you honestly, the cash flow one is worth the $17 easily. But if you don't purchase, go and have a look at what she has offering out there and start to think to yourself, what kind of equity do I have in my own business? Doesn't have to be publishing, doesn't have to be books, could be physical products, could be audio, video, could be anything. What kind of equity do I have in my own business, and how can I take what Di is now sharing with us, how can I take that, and write these down in your notes, right? How can I take that and use it to benefit my year-end profit? How can I end my year in a bang, and how can I position myself for 2015, all right? So Di's going to answer this question now. So why? Why offer this incredibly insane blowout sale? What's the benefit for your perfect prospect? What's your benefit for you?
There's several reasons behind me doing it. With this whole re-strategizing and rethinking and reevaluating, there's two aspects to it. I looked at my goals for the year in terms of how many people have I actually really significantly helped to publish a book. If I haven't, what is it that has stopped them? And 99% of the time it's cash. And we understand we've all got cash flow challenges, and there are millions of products out there. And you never know what's actually going to work. So my reason from a customer's perspective of why I wanted to do it is I wanted to remove as many excuses as possible as we're coming to the end of 2014 for people to get their butts, I was going to say out of their chair, but actually you need to get it into your chair and start writing and publishing, you know, and give them all the tools that they could do it with at a price. I'm not going to give it away free, because if you give it away free.
Did we lose you? Di, you've frozen up. So we're still broadcasting. I'm assuming that you can hear me, and we've known that this could be an issue. I'm just going to message Di on Facebook. Did we lose you? Di. Okay, so she's not answering on Facebook either. It's quite possible that her Facebook, maybe I'm just talking to the wind and you can hear Di still continue talking. Let's hope that she can rejoin the conversation. She has not left the conversation. She's just not being heard. This is the connection between Germany and South Africa. So we're talking with Di Heuser today, and I'm hoping that she's just going to come back to us fairly soon. I have not got a message from her on Facebook. What we've covered so far is basically what does Di do, where is she coming from, and how are she and I both working together. So both Di and I are working with publishing, and so we both have basically the same message and the same heart to help people to get their message out there to the world. And she's already shared some incredible insights. It's not easy to make money online. It doesn't matter whether you're writing a book or with other tactics. It usually requires that you get your butts in the chair. And she's talked about some misconceptions that they have in the industry, basically, that people are saying. For example, she's left the conversation, so let me see if we can get her back there. Hit the... Let's see if we can get her back in. I'm sorry for this right now. And hopefully she'll be back with us in a moment. Basically, so the misconceptions in the community are basically, if you're a self-published author, you're really not up to mustard. It's better to be published with a publishing house. So that's one of the misconceptions that we're dealing with. But the other one is the one that we're dealing with that's within our heads, and the very fact that, oh my gosh, I can't write a book. And what Di has, and the product that she's, or the blowout sale that we're coming into to just tell you why she's offering this sale, on the one hand, is simply she's got a series of books that she's written that help put different pieces of the puzzle together so that you can actually sit down and write a good book, and it can be a solid book, and you learn marketing techniques, or as we've mentioned a few times already in the Hangout, is the cash flow. So far, I haven't got Di coming back. I haven't got an answer from her on Facebook either. Let's just hope that she comes back, and I don't much. And right now she was in the process of explaining basically why she's putting out this blowout sale, and she's at the perspective of her prospect, of her leads, of those people where she says, 90% of the people will drop the ball once they decide they're going to write a book. And so her corner points are, I want to be supportive. I want to offer products of my own that are going to help you support and implement. Putting them all on sale will help give a good chunk of those 90% of those people who always have good intentions but don't know how, what the next step is, or they get stuck on one of the steps along the way. That's where these books can help, and where price is not a huge barrier. You don't have to spend $300 purchasing each article separately. You can spend $17 and buy it as a bulk. You still have to sit yourself down. That's what she was talking about just before we lost her. Get your butt in the chair and then sit down and write. But she has all of these manuals that walk you step by step through the main pain points or the stumbling blocks that you come across with publishing. I don't have that kind of equity for my clients, and Di has, though. And so those are the things you want to look at. Let me just check back again at Facebook to see if we have communication with Di. I think we must have lost her, because I don't see her coming back to the conversation at all. Sent her link to rejoin. And is she coming back on the conversation? Not yet. Oh, this is unfortunate. This is really unfortunate, because let me just give you a small taste of the questions in advance that I was still going to be asking Di. As I promised you, I was going to ask 10 questions. So we're at the point where I ask her, what's the offer or the blowout sale? What's the benefit for the prospect? And that's what she was saying. You have the opportunity to get in at a very low price point to get all the answers to the major stumbling blocks that you will encounter when you want to publish, and she's going to help you with that. And the next question, and I can't answer this for her, would have been, how does this help Di? How does this help you to grow your business and going forward? And this is where it turns into the nitty gritty and why I've invited you to come in behind the curtain to listen to us chatting away like that. No, she's not coming back. So to totally understand how to really use this kind of equity that she's built up over this year and a half or 2 years in her publishing industry with all of these tools, and present them there to come across once again for Di as the hero in the Secrets to Publishing book industry and niche, by giving you the tools that you need in your hand, by joining her Facebook group to get the support that you need from colleagues or from those people who've just simply walked that path ahead of you, and can give you tips and encouragement along the way. So that would be very interesting. What is she going for? Is she going for positioning, which I just mentioned? Is she going to grow her list? Is the liquidation going to turn into, it doesn't mean she's turning a new leaf, is she doing something different in her business going forward? I would have loved to have heard that. And I can't give you any details because I don't know exactly where that was. That's why I said we got to get on a conversation and talk. And then finally, after she explains that, we were going to go into how many funnels are involved with this blowout sale. Yes. I got Di on Facebook again. Let's see if we can get her on. Just me chatting away. Hi, I hope you're doing well. This is the pre-crunch before Christmas. A lot of good things. Here's the thing where we're starting to reflect a lot about what has happened this year. A little personal note for me. I was down for 4.5 months, no income, but I'm finishing this year really strongly. It's my strongest year yet. And I thought I'd be a little bit stronger than I am today, but with 4.5 months of not being able to work at all, that's been a very encouraging way to finish up my year. And I'll be doing more reflection on that in my own group, Industry Thought Leaders. And hopefully Di is going to be able to join us. She did type something on Facebook, but I haven't seen anything since then. So perhaps she's had a wonky time with her connection. Let's see. No more messages. So basically it would be how many funnels are involved with this blowout sale. So you want to think of the JV funnel, joint venture, the prospect funnel, the customer funnel. There are various different funnels involved here. How do they fit together? What can you be learning about that? Let's hope that something comes from Di. She's just updated her status on Facebook. Load shedding, whatever that means. I guess she was having trouble with her host. Can you rejoin? I don't know what load shedding is. I don't. So anyway, either she's going to make it back or she won't. Which of these 3 funnels do you see being the most lucrative to your business would have been a question that I asked her. Short term, mid-term, long term. So is it building up JV partnerships, for example, as she and I are building up here? Or is it building her own prospect list? Or is it bringing more people into her group so that she can market to them? What are these, what does she expect this blowout sale to give her short term, over the mid-range, and how does she plan on building that out for the long range? Because basically when she took a week off to reflect upon how business has been this past year, she's also looking forward to see how business is going to continue to develop this year. And it's a discipline that we all have as business owners. As I just mentioned, I was out for 4.5 months this year, which was totally not planned. 1 month was planned, but 3.5 were not. And so obviously we want to have systems in place that we can follow along, benchmarks that we can reach and strive to reach in our business, but we want the flexibility to be able to be knocked out of business for 3.5 months, for example, like I was. And I don't know what Di would be explaining, except for perhaps the occasional internet challenge for staying online. Anyway, it does not look like we're going to get Di back. Okay, so we're not going to get her back. We're going to have to call her up on another day and continue the conversation where we are, which is right at the cutting edge of teaching you how we use this to position ourselves in the back end. What are the funnels about? And that's going to be a very exciting conversation. And so right now, in the absence of Di Heuser, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Andrea Wood-Schmitz, Industry Thought Leaders, and you can find me on Facebook at Andrea Wood-Schmitz or Andrea Schmitz. And Di Heuser, you can also find her on Facebook and her group, Secrets to Publishing a Book. Please join there and join mine. Mine is Industry Thought Leaders Insider Circle, where we talk about the backgrounds that are happening to make a successful business run. Also, publishing businesses such as mine or as Di's. So, yeah, she says she's going to be back on in about 3 hours. That's how long her companies shut everything down. So thank you very much. I'm going to end the broadcast right now, and we will get back on the conversation with Di at a point in time that's good for us. You're on my emailing list, or else you wouldn't be here. And so I can mail you and let you know when the second part is going to come. And that's going to be the very interesting part where we just dive in to the background, to the information, to the connecting of the dots of how you actually systematically set up this part of the business to make it go forward, to put your positioning out further and your leadership out further. So without further ado, I'm going to say I wish you a wonderful Friday and an incredible ending to this week, and a wonderful weekend if we don't happen to schedule with Di later on today. I don't know what her time frame is or what mine is actually, because we're both a couple of hours ahead of most people who are watching this right now. Andrea Wood-Schmitz, and we'll talk later. Have a look for your email. I'll send out another link to the new update